The wedding invitation arrived on heavy cream cardstock, my cousin Clarissa's name embossed in gold. Inside, a small note in her precise handwriting. Dearest Olivia, while we'd love to include everyone, the photographer will only be capturing immediate family and distinguished guests in the formal album. We're sure you understand, standards must be maintained. You're welcome to attend the ceremony, of course. Please dress appropriately. See. I read it twice, standing in my office at the British consulate in Boston. Through my window I could see the harbor, the same view I'd had for 3 years as Deputy Consul General for Cultural Affairs. My assistant knocked softly. Miss Hartley? The ambassador's office called. They need to confirm your attendance at the Windsor Foundation Gala next month. The Duchess specifically requested you be seated at her table. Confirm it, I said, still holding Clarissa's note. And add it to my official calendar. After my assistant left, I looked at the invitation again. Clarissa was marrying Edmund Rothschild, a minor member of British nobility with a minor title and major family debts. She'd been insufferable about it for months, posting photos of her ring, dropping references to Edmund's family estate, making sure everyone knew she was marrying into proper society. My family had always been obsessed with social status. My Aunt Margaret had married into old money and never let anyone forget it. Clarissa had grown up convinced she was destined for aristocracy. I'd grown up as the disappointing branch. My mother had married for love instead of status, and our family was merely comfortable, not wealthy. I'd chosen public service over high society, which my aunt considered a tragic waste. All that education, she'd sigh, and you're working for the government like a common bureaucrat. The fact that I was a senior diplomat representing British interests in one of America's most important cities meant nothing to her. I wasn't wealthy, I wasn't married to anyone important, and I didn't attend the right parties. So naturally, I wasn't worthy of Clarissa's wedding album. The wedding was held at the Rothschild family estate in the Cotswolds, a sprawling manor that had seen better days. I flew to London on a Friday, attended the ceremony on Saturday, and planned to fly back Sunday for meetings with the Massachusetts governor's office about a trade delegation. The estate was beautiful in a faded way, the kind of nobility that had title but needed money. Edmund's family had clearly agreed to this match for Clarissa's family wealth, while Clarissa got the social status she'd always craved. I arrived at the ceremony in a simple but elegant dress, Burberry actually, but understated enough that my aunt wouldn't accuse me of trying too hard. The church was full of people I vaguely recognized from family gatherings and others I didn't know at all. Olivia. My mother found me in the crowd, looking relieved. Oh good, you made it. Margaret was worried you wouldn't come. Why would I miss Clarissa's wedding? Well, you know how busy you are with your little government job, Mom said, using the same phrase my aunt always did. Margaret wasn't sure you could get away. My little government job had required 3 weeks of schedule coordination and approval from 2 different ambassadors, but I didn't mention that. The ceremony was lovely in an overly formal way. Clarissa looked beautiful. Edmund looked slightly uncomfortable. His family looked vaguely disapproving of everything. At the reception I quickly understood the social hierarchy. The Rothschild family and their titled friends occupied the central tables. Clarissa's family, newly wealthy, desperately climbing, surrounded them like satellites. Everyone else, including me, was relegated to the outer tables near the service entrance. Olivia Hartley? I turned to find Lord James Pemberton, someone I recognized from diplomatic functions. He was a junior member of the royal household staff, someone I'd worked with on cultural exchange programs. Lord Pemberton, I said, surprised. I didn't expect to see you here. Edmund's cousin, he explained. Distant family obligation. But what are you doing at the children's table? He gestured at my assigned seat tucked away in a corner. Family politics, I said diplomatically. His eyes narrowed. You're the Deputy Consul General for Massachusetts. You've coordinated 3 royal visits. You organized the princess's entire Boston itinerary last year. Why on earth are you seated near the kitchen? I suspect my cousin doesn't know what I actually do. Clearly. He pulled out his phone. This is absurd. Come sit with me. I'm at the family table, and I guarantee my conversation will be more interesting than whatever's happening over here. That's kind, but I don't want to cause a scene. Nonsense. You outrank half the people here in terms of actual importance. The only difference is they have inherited titles and you have earned position. Before I could protest, he'd guided me to a table near the front, displacing some distant Rothschild cousin who'd been saving a seat. Within minutes I was seated with actual British nobility, not the desperate social climbers, but people with real influence who spent their time working in government, diplomacy and public service. Olivia works with the Princess's Foundation, Lord Pemberton explained to the table. She's been instrumental in several transatlantic cultural initiatives. Oh, how wonderful! Lady Catherine Ashford, who chaired several major charities, leaned forward with genuine interest. Tell me about the youth arts program. I heard that was remarkably successful. For the first time all day I was having an actual conversation about substantive work. Lady Catherine had questions about grant structures. Lord Pemberton wanted to discuss upcoming royal visits. A senior diplomat asked about trade implications of recent policy changes. Across the room I saw my Aunt Margaret staring at our table with confusion. Clarissa looked over several times, clearly trying to figure out why I was sitting with the actual aristocracy instead of being hidden away. During the formal photographs, Clarissa's wedding planner approached with a clipboard. Immediate family for the album photos, please. Everyone else can wait for the general reception shots. I started to step aside, but Lord Pemberton caught my arm. Olivia, would you mind terribly if I got a photo with you? The princess asked me to send her regards if I saw you here. She'd love a photo for the Foundation newsletter. He said it loudly enough that several people heard. Clarissa's head whipped around. The princess, she repeated. The Princess Royal, Lord Pemberton clarified. She and Olivia worked closely on the Boston Cultural Exchange. Quite successful, actually. Generated significant positive press for the Crown. Clarissa's expression shifted from confusion to calculation. Olivia, I didn't realize you knew the princess personally. We've worked together professionally, I said carefully. You must be in our family photos, Clarissa insisted suddenly. Edmund, darling, Olivia needs to be in the formal album. She works with the royal family. Actually, I said quietly, your note specifically said only proper society members would be in the album. I'm just here for the ceremony, remember? Clarissa's face flushed. Around us, several people had paused their conversations, sensing drama. That was a misunderstanding, Clarissa said quickly. I was referring to. You were maintaining standards, I said, repeating her own words. I understand completely. Please continue with your formal photos. I'm quite happy to wait with the other guests who don't meet the requirements. Olivia, don't be difficult. I'm not being difficult. I'm respecting your clearly stated wishes. I smiled politely and stepped away from the photo area. Lord Pemberton followed me, his expression amused. That was rather brilliantly done. I'm not trying to cause problems at my cousin's wedding. You're not causing problems. You're simply declining to pretend you weren't insulted. He checked his phone. Oh, this is interesting. The social registry just sent an update. Your cousin's family application has been flagged for review. What does that mean? The Berks Registry, the official record of British social standing. Clarissa's mother applied for inclusion last year, citing the Rothschild marriage. But someone filed a formal complaint about misrepresentation of diplomatic connections. Who would file a complaint? He showed me his phone. The complaint had been filed by the Royal Household's Protocol Office. When did this happen? I asked. Apparently this morning. Someone in the Protocol Office noticed that Margaret Hartley was claiming close personal connections to members of the royal family and senior diplomatic corps. They contacted those individuals to verify. When they couldn't confirm the relationships, they flagged it as misrepresentation. I had a sudden suspicion. Lord Pemberton, did you file this complaint? Not personally. But I may have mentioned to the Protocol Office that I was attending a wedding where the hostess was claiming diplomatic connections she didn't have. They take that quite seriously. It reflects poorly on actual diplomatic relationships. This will destroy their social standing. Their fabricated social standing, he corrected. Your aunt has been dropping your name at society events, implying you provide her access to royal functions. She's used your actual diplomatic work to suggest she has influence she doesn't possess. That's misrepresentation and the registry doesn't tolerate it. Across the room my Aunt Margaret was on her phone, her face pale. Clarissa had stopped smiling, looking panicked. The registry rejection will be public, Lord Pemberton continued. It typically includes the reason for denial. In this case, misrepresentation of diplomatic connections and false claims of royal access. Rather embarrassing for a wedding literally happening right now. I watched my aunt's horror grow as she read whatever was on her phone screen. They're being publicly discredited at their own social climbing wedding, I said. Karma, Lord Pemberton said cheerfully, is rather efficient sometimes. The reception continued, but the energy had shifted. Word spread quickly through the crowd. The Hartley family's registry application hadn't just been denied, it had been flagged for fraudulent claims. People who'd been fawning over my aunt began making excuses to leave. Clarissa's triumph was unraveling in real time. My aunt cornered me near the champagne fountain. Olivia, what did you do? I attended your daughter's wedding, I said calmly. As invited. The registry, the complaint, they're saying we misrepresented diplomatic connections. That's you. You're our diplomatic connection. I'm your niece who works for the British government. That doesn't give you diplomatic access or royal connections. If you told people otherwise, that's not my responsibility. But you do have royal connections, Margaret hissed. You just had a conversation with Lord Pemberton about the princess. I have professional working relationships developed through years of public service. That's not the same as social connections, and it's certainly not something you can claim for status purposes. You could fix this. Tell them we do have connections through you. I won't lie to the registry, Aunt Margaret. You claimed relationships and access you don't have. That's fraud. This is going to ruin us socially, she said desperately. Clarissa's marriage will be fine if it's based on genuine affection rather than social climbing. Edmund's family needs money, you need status. If that's the foundation, then yes, this probably complicates things. Clarissa appeared, her wedding dress swishing dramatically. Olivia, you have to help us. Tell the registry we're connected to your diplomatic work. You're not connected to my diplomatic work. You've never asked about my work. You've called it my little government job for years. You literally tried to exclude me from your wedding photos because I'm not proper society. That was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It was your actual assessment of my value. And now you're angry because it turns out I have the exact kind of connections you've been pretending to have. I'll include you in the photos, Clarissa offered desperately. I'll seat you at a better table. I don't want better seating. I don't care about your photos. I came to support your wedding, which I've done. The registry situation is a consequence of your mother's misrepresentation, not my problem to solve. Lord Pemberton returned with 2 champagne flutes. Everything all right here? We were just discussing family matters, I said. Well, I hate to interrupt, but I just received a call from the royal household. The princess would very much like to arrange a meeting with you next week. She's expanding the Foundation's American programs and wants your input on strategy. He said it at normal volume, but in the sudden quiet of the tent, it carried. Everyone heard. Everyone understood. Clarissa looked like she might cry. My aunt looked ill. That would be wonderful, I said. Please tell Her Royal Highness I'd be honored. Excellent. I'll have the details sent to your office. He smiled at Clarissa. Lovely wedding, by the way. Congratulations. We walked away, leaving my aunt and cousin staring after us. That was petty, I said quietly. That was justice, Lord Pemberton corrected. They spent years diminishing your actual accomplishments while fraudulently claiming access to your professional connections. Now they understand the difference between real influence and social pretension. I flew back to Boston the next morning. My phone exploded with messages from family members. Some apologetic, some angry, all wanting me to fix the registry situation. I responded to none of them. Instead, I focused on my actual work. The trade delegation visit. The cultural exchange programs. The upcoming meeting with the princess to discuss expanding youth arts initiatives across the Atlantic. Work that mattered. Work that created real impact beyond social climbing and wedding albums. 3 weeks later, I received a formal invitation to a small dinner at Clarence House during my next visit to London. The princess wanted to introduce me to several Foundation board members and discuss long-term strategic planning. I sent a copy to my mother with a simple note. I'll be in London next month. This is what my little government job actually involves. She called immediately. Olivia, your aunt is beside herself. The registry rejection has been devastating. People are avoiding them. Clarissa's marriage is already strained. Edmund's family is furious about the social embarrassment. Can you do anything? No, Mom. I can't. They misrepresented their connections and they're facing consequences. That's not something I can or should fix. But family works both ways. They never valued my career or my choices. They diminished my work while simultaneously exploiting my position for social credit. I'm done pretending that's acceptable. There was a long silence. Then quietly, I'm sorry. I never should have let Margaret talk about your job that way. I never should have made it sound small. Thank you for saying that. Are you really having dinner with the princess? I am. It's a working dinner about foundation expansion, not a social event. But yes, I'll be meeting with Her Royal Highness to discuss programs that will benefit thousands of young people across 2 countries. I'm proud of you, Mom said. I should have said that years ago. You should have, I agreed. But I'm glad you're saying it now. The dinner at Clarence House was extraordinary. Substantive conversations about policy, funding, and impact. The princess was brilliant, driven, and genuinely committed to the work. Around the table were people who'd dedicated their lives to public service, each one there because of their accomplishments rather than their birth. Your Boston programs have been exemplary, the princess said during dessert. I'd like you to consider expanding to other American cities. Would you be interested in leading that initiative? I'd be honored, Your Royal Highness. Excellent. We'll formalize the appointment next month. You'll need a better title, perhaps Director of Transatlantic Cultural Programs? You'll coordinate everything from London and Boston, report directly to the Foundation Board. It was a significant promotion, one that would cement my position as a senior figure in transatlantic cultural diplomacy. Thank you, ma'am. I accept. Later, as I was leaving, the princess's private secretary handed me a small envelope. Her Royal Highness asked me to pass this along. Inside was a handwritten note. I understand family can be complicated. For what it's worth, your work speaks louder than any registry ever could. Well done. I folded the note carefully and put it in my pocket. My phone buzzed with a message from Clarissa. I heard about your new appointment. Congratulations. I'm sorry for how I treated you. I'm sorry for not understanding what you'd built. I read it twice, then replied, thank you. I hope your marriage brings you happiness. It wasn't forgiveness exactly, but it was acknowledgement. Sometimes that's enough. I had a flight to catch, programs to build, and actual influence to wield in service of something larger than social status. The registry could stay close to my family. I'd opened far more important doors. And I'd done it without needing their permission, their approval, or their place in the wedding album. The work mattered. The impact mattered. That was the only proper society worth belonging to.